and misconceptions.
I grew up in a city in the Midwest, and it's very
So what do you have? What are you serving tonight? You get to sample things you may not have tried before?
I'll try everything. I need a bigger plate. I'll come back for this. Thank you.
And what do you have? I didn't even ask you before.
Crepes from France. Crêpes, actually.
Is this the same?
Yeah, same
We
one.
have that smell like it's
Yeah.
good. And this is all the same?
Yep.
Okay. I've got every culture you could imagine there.
Oh, wow.
I've got Uganda, Germany, China, Korea, France, and I'm having a wonderful time with that as well. Isn't that lovely?
Well, this is our first time, and our student, we just picked him up yesterday, and he had dinner with us, and it's been really great, especially for the kids. We've been asking a lot of questions about China, where he's from, so he's been trying to teach us a little bit about China. So we've been asking him about his experiences here in the United States too, because he hasn't been here very long. We had him watching the Falcons game last night, which wasn't much of a game, so we watched the first half. And I was asking him about sports in China, and he said that the big sports are, okay, don't do that.
Careful, sweetie, I don't want to break it.
The big sports are basketball and ping pong. And I asked him about basketball because I didn't realize that in China, and maybe it's my, misperception, that they didn't have, I thought maybe they didn't have a lot of tall people. I don't know. But he said, yes, there's a lot of tall people in China. So that was interesting to me. So you learn new things and things that you thought something different and you were wrong. So yeah, it's interesting.
This is chocolate. So which one? Chocolate. Okay.
May I have your attention one more second?
You're welcome.
Laura, will you please come? Laura is a member of
Well, many years ago, when I came here, I member Second Ponce de Leon Baptist Church, and one of the members there was involved with a miss, and she used to invite me to go to all this type of celebration, and I get involved. I met Fahed, and since that I have a student. I have a student from Spain, from Argentina, from China, from Bolivia, from Colombia, let's see, Iran, Iraq, and that is what I remember right now, but many different countries that I really enjoy to meet all these people with different culture, but you can see when they get together how their communication is so good because they basically have the same values.
What are those values?
Well, they value education, they respect each other, they are willing to listen to each other, and they can discuss any type of issue with respect and very intelligently. When I came here as a refugee, I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak English, and I didn't know so much about this culture. So I was very blessed that I have people from Second Ponce de Leon Baptist Church, from Guayuca Baptist Church, from San Mark Methodist Church, that came to me and make my life more easier because they saw what my need was, and then they try to help me, and sometimes with a dictionary try to help me to get a job, try to help me to get the Social Security, to get my driver license, to go to English classes. So it's a lot of things that they help me in different ways with my children, to practice English with them, to help them with their homework, to show me what Thanksgiving was, and Christmas and the love of God through them, and how we become the hands, the eyes, and the ears of God when we have to deal with other human beings.
Fried rice with bits of fish and beef in it, and then vegetable fried rice as well.
I was listening to a cartoon, a children's program, and it was about wildlife. And then this guy was saying, "Welcome to the forest of something in the middle of Africa. There is no civilization in sight." You know, I'm like, what?
No one lives there.
No one lives there. I mean, there's like, yeah, this is a children's program, so they grow up, learning that. Yeah, I was amazed.
Or,
yeah.
I mean, I know every era has a thing like parents would say, you better eat, better clean your plate because our children's starving.
In Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah. I was working with my colleague from Denmark, and we're having a working lunch, and we're eating pizza. And I was eating, just the middle part, and I was leaving the crust. And she was telling me, eat that up. My parents made me eat it up, saying, children are starving in Africa, and here you are in Africa, and you're wasting that food. Eat it up. Yeah, it was so funny.
Very true.
Yeah.
In my era, it was the starving children in China. Yes, or the starving children in Europe.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Still, there are cultural differences that volunteers and international visitors must learn to navigate.
Some of the students are vegetarian, and I do remember when I had them for dinner one time at the holidays, I was serving soup, and one was a meat soup, and so I prepared a vegetarian. And I tasted the vegetarian soup after dinner and discovered it was horrid. It was just terrible. I had to explain to my student that I was not very good at cooking vegetarian dishes. But on the other hand, they have taken me to Indian restaurants and introduced me to Indian food, and I always have to tell them, order something for me that is not too spicy. Yes, and my little friend from China brought his own jar of Chinese sauce to put on all the food so that it would be palatable for him. But no, we manage to eat, and if I know what their desires are, we can usually accommodate it.
New friends also learn how religious differences can create a bond. Doris Hoenig shares a memory of one of her Indian student friends.
In fact, for Hardik's birthday, I did not know this, he called me and said, "Can you take me to a church?" And I thought he was interviewing for a job because he was in business, and I thought he might want to talk to someone there. And he said, "No, I want to go to pray." He is Hindu. And I took him to Peachtree Presbyterian Church. They have a little chapel. And we went in and we sat down. He sat ahead of me, I sat behind. And we shared, he had his prayers, I had mine. And he said that was a custom for him to do on his birthday. And so I think of him now and that moment that we shared our own prayers in this community of faith.
It's all about learning by experiencing another culture.
Teaching in America is different. The students ask more questions, it's more involved. In Africa, they sort of regard you as you're the knowledge center. So it's sort of like it's a monotone, Yeah, and people are just, the moment you open your mouth, they start, they open their books. But here people listen first, so it's good, yeah.
Even though their time together is limited, it is rich in meaning and connections across continents.
Christmas International House is a different experience from the Amigo experience because the students have a program that they follow and they do not spend as much time with you. And you provide breakfast and you pick them up after they have had dinner. So there is not much time, although we do share time usually before bed. And Yutaka from Japan would come home from the dinner experience and say to me, "What do you have to eat?" And the rule was anything that in the refrigerator is fair game, but you must tell me if you take the last of something so I could replenish it for the next day. But the time that you do spend together, and my driving from here up to the center was always 40 to 45 minutes, and we had that time in the morning to prepare for that day. And then in the evening, what did you experience and what was special about the day? And sometimes my sharing with them what I had done when we were apart. But the time that we share, even though it is brief, you cement those friendships that are lasting.
A home becomes a haven, and one's guests reflect the world, as the world literally comes to your doorstep when Atlantans reach across cultural and political boundaries to welcome guests from other lands as part of the Atlanta Ministry with international students. More volunteers are needed to befriend international students studying in the Atlanta metro area. It's part of what makes Atlanta, Atlanta, and part of one world.